Hi, I'm Carla Hall, and I think we should make a yellow cake. You know why a yellow cake? Because a yellow cake is the workhorse of the kitchen in any event. It's everybody's favorite. This will be the cake that you use for birthday parties. At least it was at my birthday parties. So let's just get started. Our oven is at 350. So I have my 6 tablespoons of butter at room temperature. I've got my eggs at room temperature and just some additional butter to butter my pan. You ready? Let's just jump right in. I'm gonna grab a paper towel. We're gonna prepare our pan and just set it aside. So I have some softened butter. Just gonna put it right into my dish. This is 9.5 by 13, and just a folded paper towel. And all I'm gonna do is make sure that I rub this butter all on the bottom into the corners and the crevices, because a cake that doesn't come out of the pan is for the pan, not to be eaten. So go up on the sides. Okay. And then you're gonna get a little bit of flour. Put that in there. And now we're just gonna jiggle it. So I tap it, I turn and tap. Let's have a bowl to catch any flour that comes out. It gets a little tricky when we do those edges. So if you're like me, I have a small spot right here that I didn't get with butter. So let me just grab a little more butter and just make sure I get that. It happens to the best of us. All right, so everything should be dusted with flour. So your pan is all ready, and just set that aside. Now we're gonna start measuring our flour. Unlike most cakes, this is a 2-step method, so we're gonna put all of our dry ingredients directly into our mixing bowl. Now normally, when you're making a cake, you start with the butter and the sugar, and that's the creaming method. But here, we're gonna do a different method. And the reason I love this method is because it's such a tender cake. And when I say tender, it's really moist. So I'm gonna measure out my flour, aerating, and then putting it into the measuring cup, making sure that I've measured properly. It really makes a difference when you're making a cake to make sure that the ratios are great, because otherwise your cake could be tough. Just one. Again, aerating the flour. Don't tap down on the cup because you'll end up maybe measuring 1 or 2 tablespoons more. Right in here. So it's heaping over, which is fine. A straight edge. Okay. Well done. Now we're going to measure our sugar. Yep, everything in the pool. Does that surprise you? Okay, sugar goes in there too. Let's take our baking powder. When I'm measuring, I like to do things in piles so I don't forget. I don't put it on top. I will always put the ingredients on the side so I can say, okay, that was baking powder, you know, because there are a lot of things that are white. So now I have my salt. So we're using baking powder to give us that lift and that rise that's really tender. You wouldn't use baking soda in this case. One, because it's a little more alkaline. Also, it's a little bit sour. The baking powder has no aftertaste. So that's what's going to give us that lift and that really tender crumb. Now we're going to mix these up. Can you guess what comes next? Now we're going to start putting in the fat. I'm going to add some vegetable oil, any oil that has a mild flavor. You can start by using a neutral oil now, and if you want to play later, then just play with it. Okay. And a lot of times people don't realize that the oil actually gives the cake that really tender crumb. It's butter that gives it flavor, but if you want a really soft, tender cake, it's the oil. The next kind of fat that we're going to put in is our butter. So we cut our butter into tablespoon size, and we're going to put in the pats one at a time because we want to gradually incorporate the butter into the flour. So we have our butter, we have a knife to sort of throw it in there. Let's go. Okay, since we had to stop the mixture, let's take this time to make sure that no butter is stuck to our paddle. Let's go around the sides and the bottom to make sure nothing is stuck. The flour should look like wet sand. It's really nice. Really, really nice. I'm going to use 3 eggs, but I'm going to go ahead and crack them into the bowl and pour them in at once so I don't have to stop and crack. Okay, we have our eggs. Here's our buttermilk, which I'm going to add some vanilla to. Now we're making a vanilla cake, but again, you can make any kind of flavor. But if you're using an extract, you're going to add it to your buttermilk. Okay, so that's ready. Let's set that aside. Now let's add our eggs. Okay, so you saw how we added our eggs one at a time. Again, just like the butter, we want it to be incorporated before we add the next one. Now that we've stopped, we want to make sure we scrape the sides and the bottom. This just ensures that the fat, the egg, it's all homogenized. And when you get ready to pour your batter into your pan, you don't have like sugar or something that's clumped at the bottom. We want to make sure that it's all mixed. Okay. Okay. Last step. As soon as the buttermilk gets mixed in, stop and let's give it one more scrape and then we're done. So you see how at the bottom there's thick bits of batter. You want to make sure that you get that all mixed in because that won't bake evenly and your texture will be off. Last little bit. And that's it. Okay, we're gonna put this into our pan. We're gonna bake it off. This is why you get your pan ready in the beginning because this takes no time. All right, going in. Granny would get every little bit with those little spatula fingers of hers. I'm like, but I want to lick the bowl. She's like, it's for the cake. Okay. Now let's spread the batter to all corners. Okay. Get my knife to get all that batter off. Okay. There's one last thing we have to do before we put it in the oven. We're gonna pick up our pan and then we're gonna drop it on the cutting board. And the reason we're gonna do that, we're gonna knock out all bubbles. All right, we're good. Let's go in the oven. So we're gonna bake our cake for 25 minutes and it's not going to brown like you think. Really take it out in 25 minutes. What you're looking for when you take it out, you're looking for the edges to be brown and you're looking for those edges to pull away from the pan. That's when it's done and you're gonna smell it. If you wait until the top is browned, then it will overcook. All right, so press pause and I'll see you in 25 minutes. You should be smelling your cake. It's been 25 minutes. The kitchen is smelling amazing. The neighbors are gathering. Let's take it out. So look at that. So you see how the sides have pulled away and it's perfectly browned. It doesn't have a lot of color on top and that is okay. Now, this is gonna cool for a little bit. So I put the cake on a cooling rack and that's so that you're getting all of that air to circulate around it. And you wanna let it cool for, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes. Now, for this cake, because I'm going right out of the pan and I'm not gonna do a traditional icing, it's okay to have at a little warmer than room temperature. If you're doing a layer cake, make sure that they cool completely. And actually, once your pans are on here, after about 5 minutes, flip them out and let them cool completely on your baking sheet. All right, so let's wait 15 minutes while our cake cools. All right, so now we've waited 15 minutes and our cake has cooled. One of my favorite things to have with this cake is poured caramel, because a caramel cake is all kinds of wonderful soul food goodness. I'm just saying. The caramel is part of the linked recipe. You don't have to worry about that. We didn't make it today, but it is such a great recipe. But you can also buy caramel. So I'm just gonna pour the caramel on. Once I pour the caramel, I'm just going to spread it to make sure that it's covering the cake. And quite frankly, I'm actually leaving some in the pot because I want that for some ice cream at a later date. Who am I fooling? I just don't want it all on the cake. Okay. And the only thing left for us to do is to slice and eat. Come on! Mm. Okay, y'all, grab a plate. It's just us right now. Everyone else disappears. I'm just cutting a little square. Get in there. You see that tender crumb? Onto our plate. Wait, there is some more in my pan. If some is in yours, you want to grab that. that belongs to us, well, to me. I didn't lie to you, did I? You taste how tender it is? And that caramel, even without the caramel, if you just want a plain good cake to wrap up for a picnic, this is the cake. It does not disappoint. How you like me now? Come on. Right? This was so much fun. I loved doing this together. Happy baking. Wherever this cake ends up, I hope you get 3 times as many pieces as the next person because you deserve it.